One-on-One with Jane Mitchell, featuring the legends.
Ozzie Smith's trademark backflips and dazzling defense combined for a calling card like no other in baseball. He's affectionately known as the Wizard and is certainly a legend. In this edition, you will hear from friends and peers. Some have retired, others have passed on. But their thoughts from 2002, the year he was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, helped document his journey. More about the Wizard's life and good works these days, but first we revisit our interview reflecting on the road that led him to the highest honor in the game. July 28, 2002. An awesome day for a kid raised in South Central LA who was overlooked by scouts and beat the odds of his small size.
Getting to the Hall of Fame was not what I started out to accomplish.
A day when that young player who changed the expectation for the shortstop position on the diamond and who represented the game with honor.
What I started out to accomplish was to be the very best that Ozzie Smith could be with what God gave him.
Is invited into the exclusive fraternity to be among the best of the best of the best.
As chairman of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, it's my honor, Ozzie, to welcome you to the Hall of Fame family.
One of the greatest assets that you can have is the ability to improvise. To me, turning to double play is the greatest improvisational part of what it was that I did, because I never knew exactly what I was going to do.
Smith is known throughout baseball as the Wizard for being arguably the best shortstop of all time. But his yellow brick road wasn't paved with gold, and really not even with childhood expectations.
Baseball for me really didn't become serious until I was a junior in high school. When I decided to go to Cal Poly at San Luis Obispo, it was at that point that I decided that baseball was what I wanted to pursue. And I wanted to get the opportunity to get the exposure that I needed, because I never got drafted out of high school.
Born Osborne Earl Smith, December 26, 1954 in Mobile, Alabama, he's the second of 5 children. His father, Clovis, worked at a furniture company, his mother, Marvella, at a nursing home. They moved to the tough streets and poor neighborhood of Watts in South Central Los Angeles.
I don't think that that's the story. The story is, it was for me anyway, was not that I lived in those conditions, but what I was able to do with the opportunity when it presented itself.
How did you do that? What was it that kind of made you believe that you could and should do that?
Well, you just had to. You know, I had people around me all the time, starting with my mother, that was always preaching the same story. The story was that you get a good education, you work hard, you put your heart into whatever it is you do.
So with a focus on school and a belief in his baseball talent, he attends Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. But he wouldn't make varsity as quickly as he'd hoped, and he called his mother, ready to throw in the towel.
She called my high school coach, who called me and talked to me in no uncertain terms that that was my home and that was going to be the best place for me, and that I was going to stick it out. And I stayed, and about 2 days later I got a call. The varsity shortstop broke his ankle. And that was the entree for me to start playing with the varsity team, and from that point I never looked back.
By 1976, Smith would finally get noticed, picked by the Detroit Tigers in the 7th round. But money, a $10,000 minimum, would matter.
But anything less than that, then they weren't very serious. So I asked them for $10,000, and they said they couldn't do it. So I wanted to go back to school and get as close to my degree as I possibly could, which I did my senior year. And being the good businessman that I am, the Padres drafted me in the 4th round, and I signed for $5,000 and a bus ticket to Walla Walla, Washington.
In the minors, the switch hitter turns heads for batting, runs scored, and stolen bases, but more so for outstanding defense. And by 1978, he's already the Padres' opening day shortstop, determined to stay in the majors.
And I wasn't just doing this for me, I was doing it for my family, because, you know, it would make life a little bit better.
His early major league motions are indeed something from the land of Oz, including one of his most memorable and spectacular of his career. in a game against Atlanta, fielding a shot off the Braves' Jeff Burrows.
Up the middle, he's diving forward, takes a bad hop back over in the middle of his body. He barehands it. And that's one thing to catch it and just stop the baseball and keep it in the infield. He jumps up and throws him out by half a step, and that was the unbelievable thing.
You can't practice that. You have to have great instincts, great reflexes, and only an Ozzie Smith could do it.
Oh, Ozzie Smith, what a play, barehanded!
Just one example of why he comes in second for National League Rookie of the Year honors. What Smith didn't have in size, just 5'11", 150 pounds, he'd make up for in sizzle.
The guy had unbelievable range getting to the ball, and when he got there, he had an arm like a rocket.
Not only is acrobatic, but I loved watching him try to steal bases and steal bases. And double plays were my favorite.
He had a lot of flash when he played. It was with a lot of heart and a lot of flash.
Most exciting player I ever watched. And that was when I wasn't a baseball fan, and I used to come to the stadium to watch Ozzie.
Impressing fans and teammates.
As a young player, you can get really kind of buried up here. You know, a lot of negative things can happen, and he always said, focus on the one positive thing that happened during that game and take it with you. So he not only was a great player, he was a great teacher for us young players coming up.
Well, being a ground ball pitcher like I was, throwing that sinker ball, I loved Ozzie. I mean, even if somebody might muff one, I know if I got a ground ball to Ozzie, I get that double play. And that was the important thing to me.
Former Yankee and veteran broadcaster Jerry Coleman was the Padres manager in 1980.
When you're a manager, you make up your lineup. You put A, B, C, D, and so forth, and then you hope they do well. When you put Ozzie down there, you know exactly what you're going to get. Every day, brilliant feeling.
With spectacular defense, earning his first of 13 consecutive Gold Gloves in 1980, Smith isn't really pressured to develop his average offense, something he recalls he wanted to do.
It was always my goal to be the very best player that I could be, both offensively and defensively. I wanted to be well-rounded. You know, there were times when I asked one of the hitting instructors here, I said, if I want to hit the ball up the middle, where should my hands be? He says, don't worry about it, just aim up the middle. Well, yeah, that helped. That worked.
While Smith improved some, having a batting average of around .220, even being selected to his first of 12 straight All-Star games in 1981, the Padres had dropped to the bottom of their division and are looking to do what they can to reboot the team. So, after the '81 season and after the teams and Smith worked through a no-trade clause,
I was very impressed when Whitey came out and visited with us 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Smith is traded to St. Louis for Gary Templeton. And while it wasn't a popular trade at the time, Templeton would be a catalyst on the 1984 Padres team that finally made it to the World Series. And in St. Louis, Ozzie would become a complete player thanks to the offensive tutelage of manager Whitey Herzog.
And he said, I was going to be able to get the most out of my ability to run and stuff by keeping the ball on the ground, especially playing on AstroTurf. So we had a deal that any ground ball that I hit, he owed me $1. For any fly ball I hit, I owed him $1.
Turns out he would collect more than he'd pay his manager, and the challenge, along with weight training and a focus on nutrition, would pay great dividends of the World Championship kind. Ozzie Smith's success with St. Louis is next on One on One. A turning point in Ozzie Smith's career came after the 1981 season, while the Padres and Cardinals were trying to work out the controversial trade for Gary Templeton. 21 years later, in 2002, at a news conference just after he was elected to the Hall of Fame, he made the point of thanking his former manager, Whitey Herzog.
Came to San Diego one day and said to me that if you come and play for the St. Louis Cardinals, we're going to win the World Series.
In fact, Herzog's prediction would come true. In 1982, Smith's first year with St. Louis, he's a key player as the Cardinals ultimately play a 7th game in the World Series against Milwaukee.
Suter from the belt to the plate, a swing and a miss, and that's a winner! That's a winner! A World Series winner for the Cardinals!
Fans flocking to the field, a ticker tape parade, the first taste of a Redbird rebirth. The team is in the postseason again just 3 years later. In the 1985 National League Championship Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, tied 2 games apiece, a television graphic says Smith has not homered batting lefty in 2,967 career at-bats. That changes in the bottom of the ninth, a legendary baseball moment called by the legendary Jack Buck.
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy.
Batting .435, he's the NLCS MVP as the Cardinals go on to the World Series, losing in 7 games to the Kansas City Royals. Then in 1987, they're in the dance for the 3rd time that decade, only to be defeated by the Minnesota Twins.
It was quite a ride there in the 80s for us as a team, and a couple times there we just came up a little short.
Smith is not only an integral part of the team's success, he's influencing shortstops on other teams. Alan Trammell, a Detroit Tiger at the time, is half of one of the best 1-2 punch duos ever with second baseman Lou Whitaker.
The old school way was to stay back on the ball, and Ozzie took it with a little bit more acrobatic, but going to the baseball. I started watching TV, and when I saw film, I think, there's another way of going about my business.
But what makes Ozzie Smith's accomplishments and acrobatics perhaps all the more amazing is the fact that during much of his career, he had a torn rotator cuff in his throwing shoulder. He first injured it diving back into first base in June of '85. At that time, surgery pretty much meant the end of a playing career.
I can remember sitting on the bed and crying, right there by myself, thinking that, hey, this could be it. If this thing here, if I can't raise this here, how in the world are you going to play? So I had to do everything that I possibly could to build a strength around it, to where I could get myself back to a point or try and maintain that level of excellence. I won Gold Gloves from '85 to '93. Doing that with a torn rotator cuff.
Even coming in second in 1987 behind the Chicago Cubs' Andre Dawson in the National League Most Valuable Player voting.
People started looking at me as much more than just a defensive player. It took hitting a home run in the playoffs, and then people started looking at the numbers.
In 1992, he chalks up his 2,000th hit.
Ozzie Smith with hit number 2,000, and he stands at third with a triple. History right here for Ozzie Smith.
And when I realized that, I said, what a poignant time in my life and career. Here I am, a guy that people have been saying is nothing but a defensive player all his life. And 2,000 hits, and it ain't too bad.
But 1995 is a challenging year. That decade-old rotator cuff injury creeps up on him. He has arthroscopic surgery and is on the disabled list much of the season. By spring of 1996, however, at 41, the Major League's oldest shortstop in nearly half a century is fit, feeling good, and determined to keep playing. But with new ownership, a new manager, Tony La Russa, and the young Royce Clayton, Smith is not a lock for the shortstop spot.
I'm going to do what I've always done, and if that's enough to impress people, then so be it. I don't have anything to prove.
You just wait. Just give them a bunch of work and let the games decide it later on in the spring.
Indeed, the veteran and youngster would split time on the diamond. Smith considered the consummate professional.
He had really worked to get himself in great shape, and he was in great shape, so he performed an important role and responsibility on that team. We had some very talented young guys, and Ozzie was able to give them an idea what the big leagues were like.
Preferring to play every day, but realizing things didn't come as easily as they used to.
A ball may go by. You say, boy, golly, that ball wasn't that far away.
And knowing he wouldn't be part of the Cardinals' roster plans.
Could I have gone somewhere else and played? Yeah, I probably could have, but to prove what?
And wanting to end his career in a Cardinal uniform, Ozzie Smith announces that June that he would hang him up after the Cardinals' last game that year.
I will always cherish the special bond I have made with our fans. And I also want to thank the St. Louis Cardinal organization for giving me the opportunity to succeed as a professional baseball player.
And so Smith is part of the team that makes it to the postseason for the first time in 9 years, sweeping the San Diego Padres in the Division Series, then losing the National League Championship Series to the defending world champion Atlanta Braves. He savors every moment of his final playing days.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ozzie Smith.
I was one of the lucky players. Not every player gets the opportunity to take what is termed a tour. And I was one of those players that every place that I went, you know, there was a ceremony, a special ceremony in every park that I went to.
And at home, the Cardinals give him the ultimate honor a club can give a player. They retire his number 1. After retiring, Ozzie Smith embraced new opportunities, his life full of flair and sometimes delivering some Oz on a different kind of stage. Supporting San Diego's Downtown Library's Research Center for Baseball Buffs, part of a national effort to help people build information literacy skills by learning about the game.
We need to reiterate that a lot more with kids. You know, 2 hours of reading a day becomes very, very important.
And while Smith makes visits to his first baseball hometown of San Diego, St. Louis is his main stage for much of his life after baseball.
Sir, what is your name, sir?
Ozzie Smith.
On occasion, he's a show-me state showman.
You want to see new land, big cities, big mountains, big oceans.
It's just like you could read what was inside of me.
It's my trade, my calling.
For 2 years, Smith played host of Major League Baseball's show This Week in Baseball.
Our next superstar is the godson of Willie Mays.
That springboards him to an analyst spot with CNN SI. And by August of 2001, his friend Dave Winfield is inducted into the Hall of Fame. And at the celebration is asked, can you imagine being next?
You don't know whether or not you're going to be that part of that 1% that makes it.
The day of decision, January 8th, 2002. CNN SI cameras are at his home to capture the moment.
You never know.
The numbers certainly are there. 13 gold gloves, 15 all-star team appearances, a .262 batting average, 2,460 hits, 580 stolen bases, setting 6 major league records for his position, including most assists, most double plays, and most years with 500 or more assists. The intangibles, factoring in character, contributions to the game, that's up to the voters.
Hello?
The ballots are tallied in New York, and then...
Ozzie Smith speaking.
Ozzie, Jack O'Connell with the Baseball Writers in New York.
Hi, Jack.
I'm very happy to tell you you've been elected to the Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We got 472 ballots returned.
And it wasn't until that call, till you get that call, that it's real.
You'll be the only one going. Gary Carter missed by 11. And we're very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The details of his election are significant. He's named on nearly 92% of the ballots, just the 37th player to be elected his first time around. Only the 5th player inducted solo.
You know, it's about time they got somebody in there that could catch the ball, not just hitters. It's a Hitters Hall of Fame and a Pitchers Hall of Fame. This is one of the few great players, brilliant players, who got there with his glove and his bat.
I knew he was going to be good defensively, but offensively and as a leader and just becoming potent, like I say, on offense, stealing bases and such, really made him into the player he became.
He used his speed. He utilizes his strengths, and he made himself a Hall of Famer.
The first opportunity people have to vote for you a year in. He's the only guy going in this year. I mean, that's the ultimate compliment.
And I played this position for a long period of time that he was the best shortstop that we've ever seen.
For being a part of my trip down the yellow brick road. Thank you.
Ozzie Smith goes to Cooperstown for induction weekend. The hamlet, home to America's game, is all dressed up for the event, welcoming nearly 50 Hall of Famers, including 3 from Smith's rookie year with the Padres, Gaylord Perry, Raleigh Fingers, and Dave Winfield. The private parties and behind-the-scenes preparation fill an agenda that crescendos Sunday afternoon. With fans filling the hillside and more watching on ESPN, Ozzie Smith delivers a heartfelt 25-minute speech with thanks all around.
But I especially would like to thank the San Diego Padres organization and the St. Louis Cardinal organization for allowing me to do what I truly love doing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is tough.
And while a sign reminds him there's no crying in baseball,
I'll make it.
Reaching out to children, he illustrates his experiences twofold, comparing his journey to that of the characters in The Wizard of Oz, and by drawing parallels to the layers of a baseball, durability like the cover, strands of love like the string, and a first step like the core.
All great journeys begin with a dream.
A dream beginning on the steps of his childhood home.
I would throw the ball up toward the peak of the roof and run around to the other side in hopes of catching it myself. And if any of you are wondering, no, I never did, but it never stopped me from trying.
He credits two factors for keeping him focused.
The first shell is my faith in God. With him, I have everything. Without him, I have nothing. The second shell is the faith I had in myself, which came through my mother's love and encouragement, as she repeatedly told me, Oz, you can do whatever you want as long as you believe in your dreams with all your heart.
So, like the Scarecrow, Smith had the mind for dreaming, and like the Tin Man, a heart for believing, and like the Lion,
it was the courage he wanted, not just to rule his kingdom, he wanted the courage to face adversity.
While Smith's father has passed away and his mother's too ill to travel, he shares his glorious day with his brothers, sister, and family in the most personal and emotional moment.
And I want to thank the person who gave me the three most precious gifts of all, my children. Denise, though our journey has taken us down different paths, the good roads far outnumber the rough ones, and the fun that we share will forever be embedded. Thank you.
The rest of his speech and good works in golf are next on One, featuring the legend Ozzie Smith. As a player, Ozzie Smith was honored with the Branch Rickey Award, given to the major leaguer who personifies service above self, and the Roberto Clemente Award for his work in the community. His good works, mostly to benefit children, have continued well into his post-playing and Hall of Fame years.
My glove has given me much, but more importantly, it has given me the ability to give back. That is the ultimate talent in life. That is the greatest trophy on my mantle, and I will pray that it will so remain.
Raleigh fingers.
Ozzie Smith now returns to induction weekend every summer, humbled to be part of an exclusive brotherhood.
Ozzie Smith.
After retiring, he says he missed the camaraderie with the guys the most, and that weekend rekindles those baseball bonds. It's also where this education ambassador for the Hall of Fame is part of fundraising efforts for the Hall's education department, including the summer event Play Ball with Ozzie Smith, with mostly adults participating there at Doubleday Field. Other greats join him, offering tips at different positions.
So guys would go down and they create blisters and stuff because of the higher seam.
Talking baseball and giving autographs in the beautiful Hall of Fame gallery.
Thank you.
He says he hasn't missed the competition of baseball, finding other ways to compete, namely golf, competing against himself. And golf is how he's making a big difference in St. Louis. As the president of the Gateway PGA Foundation, he is largely focused on a project to make the inner city a better place to live. The Professional Golfers Association's REACH initiative started there in 2013 and is being replicated across the country.
Who share the same important goal, changing and improving the lives of inner city youth by leveraging the game of golf. PGA REACH is going beyond 18, beyond the 18th hole, making a difference in the lives and futures of young people in St. Louis. PGA REACH and its partners need your help.
Ozzie and the foundation have partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters, hoping to buy a piece of land for a 9-hole multi-recreational facility by 2018. Part of the fundraising? Annual concerts with headliners including country legend Vince Gill, and one opening act, his son Nico Smith, a Season 4 American Idol contestant and recording artist in Los Angeles. Looking ahead, Ozzie Smith still has much to share. Not surprising when you listen to the end of his 2002 speech, because unlike the wizard who hid behind the curtain, Ozzie Smith's story is not about illusion, but about possibility.
Folks, there is no wizard in Oz. Ozzie Smith was a boy who decided to look within. A boy who discovered that absolutely nothing is good enough if it can be made better. A boy who discovered an old-fashioned formula that would take him beyond the rainbow, beyond even his wildest dream. A boy who discovered a formula that was, and is still today, a mind to dream, a heart to believe, and the courage to persevere. And the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is the opportunity to serve others. Thank you, and may God bless you in your journey, and God bless America.
For all the talent Ozzie Smith displayed in his Hall of Fame career, his work ethic is the key to his success. His college coach inspired what would become Ozzie's mantra, that absolutely nothing is good enough if it can be made better, and better is never good enough if it can be made best. Coming from a legend, that is timeless advice worth heeding. I'm Jane Mitchell. Thank you for watching One on One.
For backstory content, visit 4sd.com.